Alright, good afternoon. It is Tuesday, February 21st at 2:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I just want to do a quick update based on yesterday's update because there has been a significant development that I feel that I need to make you guys aware of if you've been watching the earthquake forecasting videos. First thing, let me explain that large deep earthquakes produce large shallow earthquakes. So I need to define what a large deep earthquake is, and naturally you'll understand what a large shallow earthquake is. So a large deep earthquake is an earthquake that is greater than 4.0 in magnitude and at a depth of more than 300 kilometers. The reason that that matters is because the depth puts the origination of the earthquake in an area known as the asthenosphere. And so anything below 300 kilometers puts the origination point of that earthquake underneath the plate, the Earth's crust essentially. And so anything that's over 4.0 is a large earthquake, and anything that's greater than 300 kilometers is a deep earthquake. Having said that, now large deep earthquakes produce large shallow earthquakes. Obviously a large shallow earthquake is anything over 4.0 but up at the surface, where it causes damage, where people can feel it, where people can get hurt or even die. And so last night's video I talked about a large deep earthquake over here in the Fiji-Tonga region, and we have a 4.8 at a depth of 540 kilometers. We'll take a quick look at the actual data. So a 4.8, that makes it a large earthquake. Depth 540 kilometers, that makes it a large deep earthquake, which is the type of earthquake that produces large shallow earthquakes. By the way, if you're watching this, you might want to switch to full screen so that you can see all the details of that I'm pointing out here. The screen capture software that I'm using is much easier to see in a full screen setting. So the reason why I wanted to come, I was going to wait till Friday to do an update based on last night's earthquake update, but decided to come in and do one right now today, less than 24 hours later, is because last night I had mentioned that the large deep earthquake would come up to the surface and produce large shallow earthquakes, sometimes 1 to 2 magnitudes greater. That pressure also would transfer along the plate boundaries in a fixed trajectory. In this particular area in the West Pacific, large deep earthquakes transfer that pressure down to the south in New Zealand and over to the west into the Indonesian islands, up to the north towards Japan, Kamchatka, Russia, and then across the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, and then the pressure moves down here towards northern and central California. I also mentioned last night and in previous videos that the seismic pressure from these quakes, particularly here and here, also transfer across the plate. And this is the Pacific plate, this entire landmass here. The plate boundary is what we refer to right here in this area as the Ring of Fire. But that the pressure from these earthquakes in this particular area also transfer across fracture zones to the coast of South America. And what we have right here is something that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting 5s, maybe 4s after a few days, but already less than 24 hours, seismic pressure has transferred underneath the plate all the way over here to South America and produced another large deep earthquake. So you can see this earthquake that happened over here in Bolivia is a 6.5 earthquake and at a depth of 597 kilometers, which means large deep earthquake. So now we have a large deep earthquake over here. Generally when the pressure transfers across, it's just large shallow earthquakes of similar magnitude, 4s and 5s, up at the surface. This was likely not felt by too many people, but it's pretty big. I mean, that's a 6.5 earthquake. but it's also a deep earthquake, which means it will produce its own larger, shallower earthquakes. So this area over here in South America can expect at some point a 7.5 to 8.5 earthquake anywhere in this region in here. Generally, when it's in the interior like this one, it moves up into this area here near Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. Sometimes even all the way over here in Venezuela and the Caribbean islands up in here. And it also moves down to the south into Argentina and Chile. Eventually, after a few days, that pressure will travel along this plate boundary over here to the South Sandwich Islands, and then eventually expend itself out here on the what's called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge that runs right along in here. So the purpose of this second update is to point out this large, deep earthquake. This is a big one. 6.5 at 600 kilometers is going to produce a larger, shallower earthquake. It could be a similar size shallow earthquake, but it will produce seismic activity in this area over the next 24 to 72 hours, 2-3 days possibly. In the meanwhile, pressure has begun transferring from that large deep earthquake. We have a 5.4. Over here in the Solomon Islands, we've got a 4.9. Over here near Papua New Guinea, we have a 4.5. And we also have this little 4.2 up in Japan. Of course, just to the north, right about in this area, we have the Fukushima nuclear disaster happening. So the worst thing in the world would be a large, shallow earthquake anywhere in this vicinity right here. Not only do these earthquakes in this area produce tsunamis, but there's a very unstable situation going on there. I suggest you check out some of my other videos on Fukushima if you're interested in that. Incidentally, I had also mentioned that pressure transfers across the plate through these fracture zones. I'll zoom in a little so you can see it better. I hope I'm not rambling, but anyway, there's a fracture zone that runs across the plate and will dispense that seismic pressure. And so right here we have a 4.2 in the Geysers area of California. It's a pretty good size earthquake for this area, but as that pressure produces large shallow earthquakes and travels along these plate boundaries, we should see a 5.5 to 6.5 possibly right in this area in Northern California, Oregon, Washington area, also known as the Cascadia subduction zone right in here. Lots of stuff to look at, a lot to talk about, but I don't really have time to go into it all. You can see I had also mentioned that seismic pressure transferring up into here, into Burma, Nepal, Myanmar, northern India, and then over here into Afghanistan, Pakistan. Eventually this pressure right here will travel across the plate boundaries up in here into Greece, Turkey, and Greece, and then Italy. So Italy could probably expect another 4.0 after a few days. Meanwhile, again, I'll make another video on Friday when the past Friday warning expires. But in the meanwhile, this one right here has now become my main focus of attention. I'm going to keep an eye on it. If anything particular happens, I'll come back and I'll make another video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me over here on Facebook. You can message me if you have any questions or if you just want to chat. And please subscribe to my channel. Give my videos a thumb up. I appreciate it. You guys have a great week, okay?